Hello and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. And we are looking at the developments in the nation of Zimbabwe. The constitutional amendment bill passed through cabinet and it was bagged and approved by cabinet. So we are going into the second phase of this process. Let us take a look.
The bill was presented today, and we will then allow the AG to just do some legal scrubbing, and then we send it to the Speaker. The Constitution says all our bills, basically, we send them to the Speaker, who will then take it for gazetting. If it's an ordinary bill, it's 21 days gazetting before you do the first reading in Parliament. But for a constitutional bill, the Constitution says once you gazette it, you wait for 90 days before you introduce it in Parliament. So what will happen is, once the Speaker has sent it for gazetting and it's in the public domain, that period will now use it to have our debates, to call upon anyone you want to interview about their views. Parliament will call for public consultations, and once all that is done, the relevant parliamentary committees will now compile their reports. And then when we introduce the bill in Parliament, because this is a constitutional bill, it doesn't need referral to the Parliamentary Legal Committee. So once we introduce it, we then start the second reading stage, where we then introduce the bill formally in Parliament, and debate will commence in Parliament. Once the second reading is done, we then go into committee, and that process, it depends on the parliamentary calendar. I cannot speak on how long it will take, but once it's gazetted, it can even take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, depending on the business of Parliament. What is it that we want to do? But basically, that's the process.
Be said about this whole bill. And let us take a look what the Minister of Information had to say.
In detail, the bill provides as follows. Clause 1 provides for the title of the bill. Clause 2 repeals Section 92 of the Constitution and substitutes it with a parliamentary process for electing the president. It specifies that a candidate must secure a majority of votes, and if no one achieves an absolute majority, a runoff election will be held. The process is overseen by the Chief Justice or a designated judge to ensure it is conducted properly. These measures strengthen constitutional accountability by promoting fairness, openness, and judicial oversight in the election. The procedure for the election shall be in accordance with the standing rules and orders of Parliament. Clause 3, 7, and 8 amend Section 95, 143, and 158 of the Constitution in terms of the current 5-year term of office for the President and Parliament with a 7-year term. The objective of this reform is to reduce election-related disruptions, enhance policy continuity, allow sufficient time for the implementation of long-term national projects, and promote political and economic stability.
So this is what the Minister of Information said regarding the new amendments of the Constitution. We have also seen that other politicians, like Advocate Fazamaire, they've weighed on to the issue, and they've responded to this issue, and they've questioned why this is being done at this point in time, to whose benefit. So it's very important to note that this is not something which is acceptable. A lot of people do not agree or accept what is happening. Advocate Fazamaire said a 7-year presidential term kana kunyara kwacho munoziva kuti kune vakafira 1 man 1 vote here musatamba nepfungwa dzevanhu. This is not a mere statement. It's a very powerful statement because it takes us back to the liberation struggle. Why did people die during the liberation struggle? What were they fighting for? They were fighting for one man, one vote, and that right is being taken away from the same people who are supposed to vote for whoever wants to be in power. So that is critical, that is very important. And also, we will come at a certain point in time and discuss how they want to isolate Nelson Chamisa from any future elections. They want him banned and to remain so. We'll talk about that later. But what is important is to note that Section 328 of the Constitution, it speaks about the amendment of the Constitution. And this is 328(7). In this section, it states that certain parts of the Constitution cannot be amended without a national referendum. And when you're looking at what is happening, it's something which is very, very important. It provides that amendments to the following require approval by voters in a referendum. Number one, if you want to change the founding provisions of the Constitution of the Republic of Zimbabwe, you will need a referendum. If you go to Chapter 4, Declaration of Rights, the Bill of Rights, if you want to go through that, you need a referendum. Chapter 5, Executive Authority, including presidential term limits. If you want to amend that, you have to go through a referendum. Chapter 6, Legislature. That is something which is very important. And when you're looking at the legislature, you cannot willy-nilly change the legislature. Number 8, the judiciary. And this judiciary thing, it also involves the amendments on Chief Justice Luke Malaba's tenure. So you cannot do that without a referendum. But these people, they've understood one thing. They did in the past, they did it on Chief Justice Luke Malaba. It was an assessment, it was a test of how far can they go. And then now they are doing it far much further to make sure that they completely change the Constitution in its entirety. So when you are looking at these things which we have talked about, Chapter 1, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 8, it's clear that they cannot be changed without a referendum. And what we need to go is, additionally, if you go to Section 328(8), it speaks about the protection of presidential term limits. And they say that an amendment to term limits does not apply to a person who has already served 2 terms, even if the Constitution is amended. So in Mnangagwa, if he or whatsoever, whether he extends the number of terms or the tenure of term, what it means is he must not benefit from anything to do with such an amendment. So looking at on the proposed 2026 amendments, it's very important to understand this. ZANU-PF is trying to hide and say, we are not extending term limits. We are extending the length of a term limit. That is where they are hiding. So we need to be very, very careful on this one. Do these things work separately or they work together? The term limit and the length of the term. Because you can say, I want to serve 3 terms, that is 15 years. And also say, I want to serve 2 terms of 7 years, that is 14 years. What is the difference between 15 years and 14 years? So that is something which we need to understand as a people, so that we understand how to deal with this whole issue and where to stop it. So this is going to have a lot of opposition, because the people of Zimbabwe want a better nation. And another thing which I feel ZANU-PF won't be able to deal with, and they've never thought about it, is the new system they want to introduce. We are likely going to have a situation where on the ballot you will have political parties and then council candidates, where someone is going to vote for ZANU-PF, Triple C, into either of those parties ballot. Then they use the percentages to say, this party got this percentage, so you know, in parliament, this one got this percentage, so you know, in parliament. A lot of people within ZANU-PF who feel that they will be sidelined won't support this, because the list will be made, check building. the party will make its own list and say so and so are going to make it to parliament, ndo anatinenge tina upper list. So iwewe kana uri kunamba chakutuku, the chances are low kuti uchapinda because other political parties will be also getting something. So I think there is a likelihood that this system is going to be rejected and is going to be challenged in its entirety, because the same system is being challenged in South Africa, and Zimbabwe is trying to use South Africa as an example of good governance. So this is something which is very important to note as well. Okay, so what it means is we need to ask this: if the 2026 proposals, if they affect presidential tenure, if they affect succession, if they affect executive powers, if they affect constitutional safeguards, does this mean that we need to have a referendum? So that is where we need to deal with right now. That is where we need to be at this point in time. And I think ZANU-PF will do anything and everything in the name of no referendum, because they are actually trying by all means possible to dodge on this one. So we will be watching to see if they will proceed with this and win. But what you need to understand at this point in time is it's very difficult for ZANU-PF to sail through this time around, because there is opposition from within ZANU-PF itself. And who tends to benefit? Just a few elites. Who tends to be in charge of the appointment of members of parliament? It's ZANU-PF as well. So I think a lot of people will feel that they will be sidelined and they will be outclassed by some clever people. And we will see if the MPs are going to agree to this, but it's something else. And also another question is, what will the other comrades do to stop this? So I think it's a matter of, it's a national question. It's no longer about individuals. It's no longer about political organizations or political parties. It's now about what the people of Zimbabwe really want. So we want to see what happens, but God will find a way for the nation of Zimbabwe to be free and for the nation of Zimbabwe to be liberated.